Hi, here's the second in the series that I have just begun, exploring the similarities between family systems and eating disorders. And this next one is Cass Elliot. Here's the same style of family system plus food addiction signal analysis, now told through the emotional truth of Cass Elliot, Mama Cass, and her bandmates' cultural conditioning. Here's a story told in emotional truth, focused on Cass Elliott's role inside the Mamas and the Papas and her relationship with the other band members, while showing the inherited signals each one followed, unaware the system itself was built on false calibration. The Mamas and the Papas, birth-handed roles and band dynamics. John Phillips, signal he carried into the world. I was born into a world that told me a man leads, designs, and directs the story. My job was to build something big, shape its sound, and steer its momentum. I believed brilliance needed a conductor, a central voice to organize it. When Cass pushed for more creative space or resisted being minimized, I interpreted it as friction, not hunger for equal footing. I didn't understand she was asking for a place in the architecture, not asking to overthrow it. I thought I was protecting the band by keeping a hierarchy that felt natural to me, because hierarchy is what men of my generation were handed as instinct, not instruction. Denny Doherty, signal he carried. I was handed permission to be a man with desire, ambition, charisma, appetite, unapologized for. My voice was meant to soar, to be heard, to be wanted. Cass loved me in a way that wasn't hidden, and I absorbed that love easily, because love flowing toward me didn't violate any rule I was given at birth. But when love flowed from her to everyone else, I thought that was her nature, not her adaptation. I didn't see she was regulating belonging through giving more than she received, soothing more than she was soothed, laughing more than she was protected. I thought she was indestructible. I didn't see she was metabolizing the emotional weight for all of us, like a furnace we never noticed had no shut-off valve. Michelle Phillips, signals she inherited socially. I was also born into a world that told women to manage themselves, but unlike Cass, my value was rewarded through beauty, thinness, desirability, youth, and romantic mythology. The world softened around me because I fit this assigned shape. Cass didn't fit that shape, so she became the shape of warmth, humor, voice, comfort, gravity, and emotional labor. I loved her, but I also carried the same blind spot everyone did. I thought the problem was her body, not the world's cruelty about bodies. I thought her hunger was about food, not space, voice, safety, reciprocity, belonging without punishment. I didn't know I was benefiting from a system that was quietly costing her everything. Cass Elliot, the role she fulfilled inside the band. I was handed the signal at birth that said, be bigger in presence, smaller in demand. Be lovable through persona, not need. Feed others, don't ask to be fed. In the band, I became the regulator, the pressure valve, the grounding frequency. I sang the notes that anchored the harmonies. I laughed so that no one had to name the pain. I soothed tension with charm so conflict never had to surface. I carried hunger for love through giving, not asking. I wasn't trying to be the legacy or the beauty or the desire. I was trying to be the safe container for all of it, because containment was the only language for love I had ever been shown. I didn't know love had another signal. I didn't know connection didn't need a toll. the invisible addiction feedback loop in the band. For John, this is what he upheld. Male leadership hierarchy was a natural order. The emotional cost, he had little personal cost. Identity expansion was allowed. For Denny, he had charisma, desire, voice taking was rewarded. His emotional cost, he loved love received easily. His hunger was normalized. For Michelle, patriarchal beauty currency. She was rewarded socially for fitting the female ideal. For Cass, emotional and creative labor, persona as regulation. Her emotional cost was hunger, shame, worth, belonging absorbed through the body. The cross connection in Cass's system came from cultural patriarchy about women's body and voice. Her size was criticized. Her needs were discouraged. Addictive regulation wiring. Soothe distress through intensity. Food, exercise, persona, or output. The band hierarchy mirroring culture. She must sing loudly, need quietly, give endlessly, be the emotional thermostat without ever being thermostat protected. She wasn't burned out by the band. She was burned out by the intersection of the only signal she had ever been given for belonging. Soothing, giving, shrinking shame through the body, and an addiction feedback system that escalated when relief diminished. Shared tragedy, the same as the Carpenter system. None of them were acting wrong inside the system they inherited. John believed leadership meant structure. Denny believed hunger was normal and love was abundant. Michelle believed beauty was belonging. Cass believed persona was love and self-management was safety. All were following their birth-handed instructions correctly. What none of them had ever been handed was the correct connection signal for a human being, unconditional belonging, emotional co-regulation, creative reciprocity, body neutrality, and protected selfhood without intermediaries, negotiation, or reduction. The core statement here, in the Mamas and the Papas, John expanded into leadership. Denny expanded into desire. Michelle expanded into beauty. And Cass expanded into emotional gravity. Each believed they were fulfilling the correct role handed to them at birth. None recognized the roles themselves were built on inherited false signals, hierarchy, comparison, and female body negotiation, because the truer signal of unconditional belonging, voice without toll, and connection without intermediaries had never been taught to any of them. Cass regulated the band through charm, comfort, food, voice, and output until her internal system reached red line and collapsed from signal exhaustion, not rebellion, appetite, or lack of love, but the absence of a model for love that protected her in return. This is her family of origin. Bess Elliot, her mother. Signal inherited and enforced. I was born into a generation that believed a daughter must be presentable to the world, but that world judged women by size, desirability, discipline, and compliance. Cass was brilliant, funny, and unstoppable, but she was not the shape the world applauded. I wanted her safe from ridicule, safe from rejection, safe from pain. So I taught her what my era taught me. Control the body, hide vulnerability, laugh louder than the wound, don't show hurt, earn belonging by being entertaining, not needy. When she struggled with weight and food, I thought the problem was appetite, not anguish. I didn't know a woman could be loved without shrinking, without apology, without self-correction. Philip and Joseph Elliot, her brothers. Signal inherited. We were handed permission to take up space without consequence. If we were loud, it was leadership. If we were hungry, it was normal. If we succeeded, it was expected. Cass was handed a different instruction. Be bigger in charm, smaller in need. We adored her, but we also absorbed the same cultural map that said a woman's body is a project, a problem to solve. We thought teasing was normal because the world normalized teasing girls about size. We didn't know we were echoing a system that was squeezing the life out of her by making her body the gatekeeper to acceptance. It just makes me want to cry. Cass Elliot, daughter and sister, signal inherited and internalized. I was never taught that my true size was allowed. I was taught my talent was my passport. My humor was my armor, and my body was a negotiation I must constantly manage. Food became the dial I used to regulate what felt unregulatable. Visibility, criticism, longing, belonging, and shame. Overeating soothed fear. Restricting soothed shame. Over-exercising soothed panic. It was never about food. It was about the signal I was given. Be unforgettable in performance, unnoticed in need. I wasn't trying to erase myself like Karen did. I was trying to buffer the burn of a world that told me I was too much and not enough at the same time. Joe Elliot, her father. Signal inherited and quietly upheld. I love my daughter fiercely, but I came from a world that taught me men protected by providing, not questioning the system. I saw Cass wounded by the cultural cruelty about her size and tried to defend her heart, but I didn't know how to defend her body's right to exist without judgment. I thought her overeating was rebellion or comfort seeking, not a nervous system on fire from unfiltered signals. I didn't know the system itself was burning hotter than any individual wound. Cass Elliott's generational map of addiction as buffering and soothing. So this is a 3-generation map that shows her grandparents and what their beliefs were that were handed down to them.
Okay.
Her grandparents, women judged by size, appearance, appetite, acceptability, and emotional demand. Men, space taking was neutral or rewarded. Her parents' generation, Bess, her mother, make the daughter acceptable to protect. Body management equals survival skill. Pain deflected through humor, persona. Joe, her father, fierce love but conditioned to provide, not to disrupt cultural blueprint. This is internalized by their children. Children's adaptation. Brothers, they have the legacy. Their talent is praised. Their hunger is neutral. Their identity is allowed. Cass, daughter and sister. Talent equals passport. Humor equals armor. Body equals negotiation. Need discouraged. Size criticized socially. So she needed to adapt. Addictive regulation pathway. 1. Overeat to soothe unfiltered fear and distress. 2. Restrict weight cycle to soothe shame. 3. Overexercise to justify existence through output rather than need. 4. Persona carries emotion her body absorbs. And 5. System collapses under metabolic and cardiac and sleep stress load. The emotional truth summary. Cass disappeared calm fear. She soothed it, buffered it, performed over it, because her inherited signal was be larger than life in charm, smaller than life in pain. Food became the nervous system's pressure valve when unconditional belonging felt uncertain. Shared structural insight, both women, different addiction expression. For Karen, don't take up space, don't need, and contain self. So her addiction expression was to restrict, erase, and silence her body. For Cass, be lovable in persona, don't be vulnerable, manage body acceptably. Her expression was overeat to soothe, restrict to soothe shame, perform to justify worth. Both are generational nervous system adaptations, attempts to regulate fear without a model for unconditional safety, believed to be correct by the family that transmitted them. Body-based addictions triggered by emotional signal loss. Neither family understood the correct connection signal for a woman is you are allowed to exist at your full size with your full needs, with your full voice, without intermediaries, negotiations, or reduction. That was the signal never handed to any of them. And that is the signal that we all need. Is that we are allowed to exist at our full size, with our full needs, with our full voice, without intermediaries, without negotiation, without reduction. So I'm just really glad that I have been able to put this together and share this. And I'm just really glad that I've been looking into these wonderful, beautiful ladies. And I'm looking forward to the next woman that I am going to honor in this way.